Nice to see you all. I'm just going to sort out my mic. So, as Justin said, I'm Jack. I'm the marketing director of KFC UK and Ireland, and in a couple of months, I'm going to be taking over the reins as CMO. I am sure that everyone here is obsessed about getting as close as possible to customers, being orientated by their needs, their wants, their desires, their hopes, and their dreams. So as marketeers, that's what we do. And today, I'm going to talk about how we've been doing just that, using ad tech, creative, and digital media to dig deep into the psychological triggers that drive behavior. So I'm going to talk around that for about 15 minutes. There's time for questions, and you can ask me questions about anything you like. It doesn't have to be about the kind of topic today. So we've been able to stop guessing about what drives responses from our customers when they see our advertising, and instead focus on delivering our messages more authentically. We've done this using a blend of social listening, artificial intelligence, as well as traditional advertising creative to improve our performance in paid media, and even more importantly than improving performance, understand why and actually gather consumer insight from our digital media. So by combining the skill set of our agency roster with ad tech, we're creating ads that reflect their wants, their needs, their desires at scale. So we made hundreds of ads for our mobile ordering campaign, which was all about driving app downloads. And that resulted in kind of KPIs that far exceeded our expectation. Now, both in terms of the results that we gathered, but also the learnings and the insights that we were able to gather and feed forward into the next round. What we did with this process, it actually allowed us to understand the visuals and the language and the triggers that are most successful to test hypotheses, validate them, and challenge our own instincts. So we were testing creative decisions that previously we'd been making blind. So we think about a mobile ordering campaign where we want to download the app. The key benefit of mobile ordering, in our eyes, being faster, more convenient, easier access. So looking at this graph, we tested hundreds and hundreds of ads, and we themed the language and the visuals around that. And actually, the theme of indulgence was the one that significantly outperformed our standard benchmarks, what we'd normally have done. It performed more successfully than the other three themes that we tested. And although for a brand like KFC, it might kind of seem like it's not any great surprise that indulgence is a kind of key driver of action because it links to consumers' desires and expectations around the brand. For us, when you're in that space and you're thinking about, how do we drive action against this very specific objective of mobile ordering, it's quite easy to get distracted by that and focus very, very much on what you think consumers are going to want to see and experience. So our mantra is that we only get data back on the things that we test. So if in doubt, then test. The good news is it's been working. So automation allowed us to deliver 193% uplift above our target benchmarks, 45% cheaper than business as usual, before we factor in the additional savings in production. So the results are good. We're delivering more efficiency and more effectiveness. But I think we've probably all seen countless examples of programmatic and automation that delivers KPI improvements. The question that remains, the reason that we've been doing this and digging deeper, is to understand why. If we can find out why, then we can replicate, we can optimize, and we can take those learnings forward. Traditionally, we might do some research, find an insight, create an idea, produce that idea, and then make an ad and push it out live. And at the end of the campaign, we'd congratulate ourselves, we'd pat ourselves on the back that it's been successful, but we don't know why, not really. So we wanted to understand why our campaigns are working. So I've got a little bit of a case study. Let's look at a core taste campaign that we ran. So the goal was to target the right audience in the right moment with the right product. So we wanted to show everyone that we've got amazing, delicious food for every occasion. But we wanted to sort of empathize with our audience as well and reference their wants, their needs, their desires, not just spam them with guesswork. So we already had some highly effective online video content that we'd created with our friends at Mother London, showcasing delicious food up close. And we had this for 11 different products and bundles, appealing to different audiences for different occasions. So our intention going in was to take these 11 different pieces of creative, target them to different audiences at different moments through the day, so that, if you are a kind of a family sharing audience, at dinner we can show you Family Feast. If it's an individual, at lunchtime we might show you a fillet box meal. And quite a sort of one-dimensional sense of how we could use digital media. But we thought, what if we could go one step further and do something that actually allowed us not only to improve performance, but also understand more about our creative. So we'd previously worked with automated creative on our mobile ordering campaign, and we wanted to test their technology to see if we could fuel what was a much more traditional taste-led campaign. So that's, like a mobile ordering campaign, like digital ordering still makes up a small proportion of our overall business and a small proportion of our overall media spend. Our taste work, that kind of core KFC taste advertising, is a significant proportion of what we're doing. And therefore, we wanted to take those learnings from something far more kind of in the kind of digital space and apply it to our core advertising campaign. So the folks at Automated Creative used some social listening to identify how consumers were talking about our category, takeaways, food delivery. And we tapped into the emotional landscape and the moments around planning, ordering, and anticipating those meals. And the tech automated the production of literally hundreds and hundreds of different pieces of advertising that were reflecting those conversations that were happening in social. So we made literally tons of ads that were based on how real people were talking about our category, not just how we think they talk and think about our category. And then where I think the real magic sits is that on a regular basis, we're able to analyze which creative triggers are driving performance, and then generate new and unique ads that further investigate the themes that are working. So we keep generating new creative whilst the campaign is live, boosting performance, gaining more insights. So, for example, this data is actually from last week, so higher the bar, the more impactful. And we can see that so we create different themes. This is for language style. So we code the language against sarcastic, straight, and topical. We can see that sarcastic is currently outperforming last week. The week before, topical conversations were outperforming. So we can dig further into that, understand why, and then adapt whilst the campaign's live. And that allows us to improve performance while the campaign's live, but it also allows us to generate deeper understanding when we go back and look at in this instance, the language that we've been using in that creative. So what this allows us to do is flex our messaging to the cultural nuances of the audience. So we kind of think of it as the opposite of the traditional set it and forget it approach. And this work is delivering for us in terms of the results as well. So it's 45% cheaper than our business as usual work. So not only have we been able to gather these insights that we're feeding through in a very organic way as we build the campaign out, but we're also delivering against key performance indicators as well. So effectively, the way that we think about this is we're using cheap media, like highly cheap media, to inform expensive media. Rather than going out and just doing research and then putting it out there, we're researching through paid. It's more reliable. It's a better fit for culture than old-fashioned traditional research techniques because the campaign itself is the research technique. So the approach combines social listening, our creative agency, and machine learning and scale to give us these insights that are based on actual behavior. And crucially, the automation tells us not just what's working in our ads, but why. And so we're able to bring a performance mindset to brand creative and then brand rigor and craft to our performance marketing. I think it's really important at this juncture to note this isn't about replacing the creative process. Like what we fuel into the work with automated creative and then into our paid is the kind of like the amazing spark that we get from our lead creative at Mother. This is about optimizing it, optimizing language, messaging, and then managing that in flight as cultural moments change. So as it goes through, we then kind of push it out through Mindshare, our lead media agency. We learn through social, and then it feeds back in, and the loop continues. So in summary, this has really helped us empathize with our consumer, create new, better advertising based on what they want in the moment, not just what we think they need, not what we think they want, but what they actually do. We're augmenting the human skill of the creative agency with the power of machine learning and the scale that allows us to create. And we're turning impressions into intelligence. So in other words, we're using machines to help us become more human. That's it from me. I'll invite Justin up for any questions from you guys. So thank you very much.
Jax, thank you so much. An amazing start to our day. We've got, unsurprisingly, loads of questions, so let me ask some of the audience questions. But first one from me, if I may. What sort of feedback loop is there to inform your above-the-line creative from the insights you're gaining from digital advertising?
So we're still in that process at the moment. What we've done with so this campaign, if I talk about that kind of like what we call our craveable core campaign, we've made a series, like we made 11 pieces of creative, of which 4 we've made 10-second copy that's going above the line. And through the work that we're doing on digital, we're able to understand the elements. So we break down the kind of the visual language, so the video content, into these subsections. So you can see from the work that you've seen, there's like these different moments of food movement. And we're able to see through testing like literally hundreds of different versions of that, which elements are more effective, and then put that back into the edit process. So at the moment, we're only doing it from a kind of visual video standpoint. But as we kind of generate more learnings, what we'll be able to do is feed in some of the language as well. So as I said, like, is a message around like fast and easy more effective than a message around indulgence? Is a promotional message around free more effective? And so the next round, because obviously the kind of above the line creative process is a slower process, it can feed into the next campaign. So there's some elements that we can use live, and there are some elements that we'll use to feed into future campaigns.
Fantastic, thank you. Great one here from Nick, who asks, are you looking at general topical conversations or social listening, or conversations specifically related to your brand?
So at the moment, it's conversations specifically related to our brand insofar as that they relate to moments, occasions, wants or desires that are associated with our broadest possible competitive set. So that's not as looking at quick service restaurants or takeaway necessarily, but rather the total food environment and indulgence. So it's within the scope of what feeds conversation around our category, but it's not specific to our brand.
Thank you. Question here, and I guess a lot of people are thinking this, it's HFSS. How's that going to affect what you do generally with digital advertising?
So Obviously, there's going to be a fairly significant impact in terms of what we do, but that's going to affect the whole category. So one thing that we are looking at the moment is we've got a large range of products that aren't impacted by HFSS, and we are continuing to kind of develop new products on our menu that will meet the nutritional guidelines associated with that, and then also looking at our total channel mix. So obviously, digital advertising is really important, but we do look at total channel mix, and as the environment changes, that will naturally be adjusting with that.
It's a great question here, and this is something we talked a lot about yesterday on the creativity stage, about how you can use emotions like sarcasm in social without taking it the wrong way. So how do you saw sarcasm was the big chart there, but what are the dangers in adopting that sort of approach?
I mean, I think we've worked really hard over the last 5 years to hone our brand tone of voice, which is a really human, authentic, real voice, particularly in social. And over the last 3 years, bringing that through into our above-the-line advertising and communications as well. So I think the first thing is to make sure that a theme like sarcasm actually speaks to the brand tone of voice. It's incongruent for a brand that doesn't have that kind of that human or authentic voice to then come in with sarcasm, and that takes time. So investing in consistency over time to be able to kind of have permission to be topical, to be playful, is really important. I mean, we ran a campaign in the early days of lockdown, which was Rate My KFC on social. So we saw lots of our kind of customers, as KFCs were closed, recreating KFC at home. And then we invited them to share their KFC creations, and we rated them on social media. And our admin was absolutely brutal in terms of the responses that he gave. And what it actually generated was people were almost sharing in order to be roasted by KFC admin. And I think that it's just about how your fans and audience engage, and then just having the right talent in place. So, for us, particularly within social, I have a very empowered team who are in-house, who understand the brand tone, and are able to have the freedom to actually do what they feel is right on the channels. And I'd say that doing that, we don't necessarily always get it right, but we get it right more often than we get it wrong. And by empowering the team, that allows us to push things further. So ultimately, I'd put it down primarily just to the talent of the team, how empowered they are, and being really clear and sharp on the brand tone of voice.
Share to be roasted by KFC. That's quite a brave thing to do. Look, I can't not ask some other questions bigger questions around other platforms. We're all coming out of the pandemic. Out of home has had a tough time, but it's really, really coming back strongly. So what about channels like digital out of home and CTV as well? What new channels are you most excited about?
So, I would say that when it comes to digital out of home, we'll be investing significantly in out of home as we go into next year. I think that we're already seeing the emergence of people back out and about, and there's lots of value to be had in the out of home environment. I think that what I'm probably most excited about is some of the things that I've been talking about today, which is how as our brand transforms with the role that delivery plays for us, there's a lot more opportunity for us to do kind of direct response marketing, more digital marketing, to drive immediate action, whether that be through aggregator channels like Just Eat, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, or our own channels as well. So the opportunity to link our powerful creative and media more closely to the moment of purchase is the thing that I'm probably most excited about going into next year.
Well, Jack, thank you so much for our time. That was an amazing start to today. So thank you so much.